Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Todd Menard, and today we're going over the Greater Phoenix metropolitan housing statistics for the week ending April 27th. Let's see what took place. This past week, 76 days closed on market, a month supply of 3.98. Absorption rate was at 25.11. Average list price this past week, $783,614. Average sale price this past week, $632,261. And our list price to sell price retention came in at 97.41. Active inventory, we declined just a little bit to 26,870 available properties, pending sitting at 5,095, and closed month to date for the month of April at 5847. Looking at new listings taken this past week, about 8.6% less taken this week than the week before, bringing it to 2,071 new listings. Days on market for active is at 92 and for closed at 76. Taking a look at the price ranges in the lower left-hand corner, you can see that there were a number of categories this past week that declined in product numbers. This is the active inventory by price range. So you can see those markets that declined, and primarily those were the markets that did the most activity, of course, without the replenishment from that new listings taken. The categories of 0 to 600,000 are represented by 65.76% of the entire MLS. 19.53% is between 600,000 and $1 million, and $1 million and over at 14.62. Taking a look at our spreadsheet where everybody gets to be the expert. In the very center columns, you have year over year analysis for 24 and 25. That would be same week that we're reporting. And to the left of that, we have the two columns, April 27th and April 20th, which is week over week. Taking a look at new listings, as we mentioned, 2265 last week, only 2065, 2071 this week. That obviously is a decline of about 8.6%, and it's less than we did last year. So that wasn't a very good overall week. Looking at inventory at 26,870, that's down just a little bit, and it's down from last year. So we have less inventory. So when we're dealing with that battle level, are we in a seller's market? Are we in a buyer's market? We're actually still in a seller's market, and I'll explain in just a couple of minutes. Looking at coming soon, of that 26,870, 605 are in that coming soon category. 20,036 single family non-distressed, 2,948 new home construction properties. Those are builders who are putting the property in the MLS. It could be a new community. They want to alert everyone that's just opened, or it could be a spec inventory, or what's called inventory or production homes that are move-in ready, or something that might have fallen out of escrow. But it's certainly not the entire amount of properties available. The non-distressed is a total of 26,375, representing 98.2% of the entire MLS inventory. Pending is sitting at 5,091. That's up from 5,000. That's a good sign, up 2%. Look, last year we had 4,490 same week, 4,653 the year before that. So we definitely have 500 or so more buyers in escrow right now at any one time of the month than we did last year, same time. Taking a look at closed inventory month to date, we're sitting at 5,847. That again is higher than last year, 5,819. So that 0.5% is still very, very close. It is only the 26th, so we do have a few more days of the month to collect the remainder of the closings. But if it stays like this, we may end up just having a green month, which would be our second in a row of where we did more business this year, closed more business this year than we did last. Taking a look at month supply, we're at 3.98. That's under 4. We were at 4.05. If you know the way whether we're in a seller's market, buyer's market, as far as just the algorithm name or the definition, then if you're under 4 months, you're actually in a seller's market. If you're over 6 months, you're in a buyer's market. And in this particular case, if you're between 4 to 6 months, a lot of markets act like they're in a buyer's market, which we've been doing over the last few months because we've been in that 4.5 month supply area. But now once we're starting, if we can sustain under 4, if we could, basically get into that rule of thumb, as you see over here on the left-hand side, 2.5 to 3 months supply, that would really be good for the seller because it would keep properties moving briskly. And it would also be good for the buyer because the buyer is going to have more inventory and they won't be in a multiple offer scenario. The median price is at 456 this week versus 450 the week before, 450,000 the week before. So, what closed so far month to date has increased a little bit as that median number. So more expensive homes have sold in the last week than they did the week before. Looking at the inventory as far as days on market, we're sitting at 92 days for active and 76 days for closed. So that was at 79. It was at 83 last year. It was at 84 last month, 89 the month before. So what you're seeing is it getting closer again to that rule of thumb of 70. And the benefit there is, again, briskness. Escrow can have enough time to do the property abstracts and handle the escrow servicing accounts, getting the title policies and all the things that are necessary without putting a burden on them. At the same time, it's brisk enough that will help the market turn over more quickly. And that's, again, indicative of being in a balanced real estate market. 97.401 was his list per sale price retention. In other words, the seller at the time that they accepted the offer gave up, in this case, 2.6% of the list price. That was a reduction in list price on average. Last week, it was even a little more than that. Last year, we were at 97.51, 97.75 the year before. 97.8 is the 5-year historical average for list price to sale price. So when we're under that, we're saying that the sellers are really pressured to give up more money, either because their home has been on the market longer because of just stagnant sales. It could be fewer buyers or things of this nature, or it could be that it was priced incorrectly. That happens as well. And eventually the sellers end up negotiating and taking a price. Now, from a buyer's perspective, it might be that the buyer is interested in no concessions and all they want is discount off the list price. Concessions are obviously something that the seller gives up away from their net proceeds in addition to the drop in the list price. So sometimes people pay more, ask for more concessions, or the reverse, they don't need concessions, so they drop the price. In this particular case, 97.41 is a reasonable week. We're right in within that 0.5%, almost 0.5% almost. Look at last year, 97.51, 97.75 as we talked about. So in essence, we're not far off of those numbers, and we'll have to wait till the end of the month reporting in 2 weeks to be able to see how April fares overall. So I want to just take a moment and explain to someone who might be looking at these sheets either not really realizing how it benefits them, whether you're a seller, a buyer, real estate agent, this sheet can benefit you. And when you're looking at, and I color-coded these on purpose, when you're looking at the red, 2,400 is our rule of thumb of the basically almost a 15-year period. Whenever we've been in markets where we've maintained 2,400 or plus units, we were able to sustain and keep the same inventory levels going while yet still having 5,500 buyers in the marketplace in escrow at any one time. So when you have fewer buyers, then inventory, if you could do those 24, obviously would creep up, and that relationship exists, the reciprocal of that as well. If we're not if there's more buyers in the marketplace, then it's going to eat up more of that inventory unless we're more ahead of that 2,400 number. The number of pending, we consider it to represent the number of buyers in the marketplace, where the number of listings, we talk about the sellers' confidence in the marketplace that they're going to not only be able to sell their home for the price that they've asked, but also find a home to relocate to. So they would list during those scenarios, not just major life events like loss of jobs, children, things of that nature. But when we do have a conversation and a relationship between those, these two represent what the month's supply is. So if you have sales versus inventory, that lets you know what is going to end up at the month's supply is going to be. So that's how we can use those numbers. Plus, we also know whether we can be aggressive in pricing or lesser aggressive in pricing based on how many people are in the market and how many listings are there. And that's kind of how we use the month's supply. It's more indicative of just a key production indicator rather than, sales are up this month. Great. What does that mean to the market? Doesn't really mean anything. But it does allow us to look at the month's supply and say, if we're under 4, we're in a seller's market. If we're over 6, we're in a buyer's market. Where are we? And that lets us know who has the negotiating edge and how to structure a transaction more appropriately and offer more appropriately to both have it be reasonable to a seller and also what a buyer needs to be able to perform. So there's always that delicate relationship. The last couple of numbers are also the average days on market when we start to see it, as we have 89, 84, 79. It's dropping. Last year, again, during the same identical market last year, we were at 65. So that was below the average, which meant that properties were going on the market and they were selling more quickly. It also means that it causes escrow periods to be sometimes reconsidered as far as the length of those periods. But these are the kinds of things that we look at when we look at these. So when you do look at the spreadsheet, these are some of the ways in which you can benefit and understand the market even that much better. Thanks so much, you guys. Hope I have a great day. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.